The English Teacher YouTube channel, videos for success in English 103 and English 104. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the English Teacher YouTube channel. Here with a short video to walk you through an example of an annotated bibliography that you would need to do in English 104 typically. Really what I'm going to walk us through is the overall setup and then the point of each part of the entries, the works cited entries and the summaries, and then what to look for in some of your summaries and what not to do as well as what to do. So if we take a look at this overall document, you'll notice that it's set up in MLA8 format. So we have our header. Up here, we have our heading here with the student name, the instructor name, the course itself, the day, month, the year, which means the date. This is literally just titled Annotated Bibliography. Now, as we look throughout the rest of the document, you'll see that the header carries from page to page, and you'll see that we have very similar formatting for each one of these entries. So this is what we would call a works cited entry. You'll notice that we have a works cited entry down here. And then we get the stuff in between here, which is largely the annotation part of the bibliography. It's really notes about the actual source that is appearing right here. So as you look through these particular annotated bibliographies, and in this sample in particular, you'll notice that we start each source with a very similar element depending on if we have it or not, which would be the author, or you would move then to the title of the article. Then you'll see we have containers. Really, this is stuff that most likely you will cover within your actual English 104 class, and that's the setup of a works cited entry. And then these get used in your final paper typically, if these are the sources that appear in your paper. But the thing that is most odd to students generally is the part that comes underneath those works cited entries, which are the annotated parts or the summaries of each of those sources. And so I want to point out some elements for you in terms of what you need to do when you are summarizing. Essentially, there's another video too that's on the YouTube channel here, which is about how to summarize articles. And so you'll notice that each one of these is attempting to start with what we call the ACTs, which is the T stands for title. We have the author, which is the A. Then we have the C, which are credentials. And then it moves into the summary, which should really be a basic overview of the article that you are summarizing, meaning keep track of the main points, largely the thesis of that article, and then the points that substantiate that thesis that you're given. One thing to remember is that within summaries, and that's even for your annotated bibliography, most often you're not going to be able to summarize the whole article. Instead, what you want to do is summarize the parts that are important for your paper and your topic. So if we look at this one right here, we see we have a standard entry for a works cited page or for an annotated bib. So we start with the last name, comma, first name, period. We get the title of the article in quotation marks. Then we have what looks to be a journal or a magazine that has the volume and the issue number listed, followed by the year it was published. Then we have page numbers. We have the database that it was taken from, and many of you will have to use database sources within your articles or within your annotated bib as well as your persuasive research paper. We get the URL that appears right here. Remember that the URL can be used within works cited entries. The DOI, which is the digital object identifier, is preference if you have it. Generally, you do not include both of them. And then instructor preferences if you include the access date or not at the end of your entries. And you'll notice that this instructor has requested that the student include the access date. Then right below that, you'll see that we have this part, which is our summary. That is left aligned for us, whereas up here, each one of these entries has the first line left aligned, and then each one has a hanging indent underneath that until we get to the actual summary. Then we look here and we say, okay, we have the author, which is down here. We have the credentials of who that author is, which is right here, what makes them credible. Then you'll see we have the title of that article, which is right here. And then the student goes into specifics about what the article is covering, and largely after that, covering how it will be beneficial to them and what they plan to use that article for. So when you're looking through these type of annotated bibliographies, you're kind of looking for four particular elements. Do you have the proper works cited entry like this? And then do you summarize the article below that works cited entry by focusing your attention largely on a summary that contains the thesis, any main points of that article that you plan to use in your paper, how you plan to use that article in your paper, and then sometimes your instructor will actually ask you to say how it affects the audience or how you anticipate that helping the audience understand your point better. So in that case, you want to make sure you check with your instructor, but largely those are the elements that we're looking for. Now, depending on your instructor, that will depend on how many sources you need, how many of those need to be peer reviewed, whether you need those peer reviewed articles to be marked within here. But those are questions that you would obviously address with your instructor as needed. So basics that I kind of want to summarize for you here. Again, summary, not everything. I'm not going to cover everything again, but it's just the gist, which is each one of your entries will have a works cited entry above it that's properly MLA8 formatted. Then you'll move into a summary that largely focuses on giving the author the credentials, the title, and then gives the thesis of that piece, any points that you plan to use within your own paper when you're using that source, or things that substantiate that thesis. And then you also want to make sure you tell how you plan to use it, along with maybe how that works with the audience itself. So hopefully this is a reasonable review for you, and it helps walk through a sample that may be loaded on your Moodle page, but nonetheless, if your instructor does have samples, hopefully this aligns with it. If it seems a little different, make sure you're checking with your instructor so that you can follow through. All right. Other than that, thank you for viewing the video, and make sure to check out the channel for other ones that might help you.